Imagine spending like $50,000 on a brand new digital marketing campaign.
Right, a pretty sizable chunk of change.
Exactly. So you log into your dashboard at the end of the week, and it tells you the campaign brought in $1 million in revenue. You pop the champagne, you celebrate.
As you should.
But then finance calls, and the bank account is just empty. The sales never actually happened. Your analytics software didn't just break. It actively lied to you.
Yeah, and the terrifying part of that specific scenario is that the alarms are completely disconnected.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about it. When a website server crashes, right, the site goes down, you get a massive 404 error on your screen. It's loud, you can't miss it. But when GA4 breaks, the charts still look beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the line graphs still go up and down. You are looking at a dashboard of total fiction, and without a really specialized audit, you honestly have zero way of knowing.
And that silent failure is the exact focus of our deep dive today. We've got this great stack of research centered around a comparative evaluation guide for two major analytics auditing tools. So we're looking at GAFix and GA4 Auditor.
Two very different beasts.
Yeah, completely different. And our mission today isn't just to, read off a boring list of software features. We're going to unpack these tools as fundamentally different philosophies on how to basically force your data to tell the truth.
Which is so crucial.
It is. Because, for you listening, relying on a broken GA4 setup is like driving a high-performance sports car with a broken speedometer. I mean, you feel the wind in your hair, you feel like you're winning the race, but you might actually be driving straight into a wall at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, and the Google Tag Manager Help Center actually has explicit warnings about this very thing. They state that even microscopic error, tiny things in how a trigger is configured or how a tag is deployed will directly corrupt your marketing measurement.
To ruin it.
Completely. So if you are trusting this data to allocate your ad budget or to assess if a campaign is working or just to understand what users are doing on your site, a broken setup means you're effectively flying blind.
Right.
So comparing how GAFix and GA4 Auditor find those blind spots, it isn't just some, technical IT exercise. It's a financial imperative for your business.
Okay, so I want to jump straight into how these tools actually pop the hood, because I'm looking at the raw numbers from our source material here, and I have to admit, I'm kind of stuck on something.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, the guide says GAFix runs 18 checkpoints, but GA4 Auditor covers over 100 data points spread across like 40-plus pages.
Right, the numbers gap.
Yeah. In my mind, if I'm buying auditing software to find a bug, I want the tool that checks 100 potential breaking points, not 18. Why am I wrong here?
Well, you're assuming they're checking the exact same types of systems, but they define the word audit entirely differently.
Okay, how so?
Let's break down GA4 Auditor's 100-plus data points first. That tool performs what is essentially a live website crawl.
Like a bot.
Exactly. It uses automated bots to visit your actual live website and physically click around. It's pinging the browser to ask, hey, when I load this shopping cart page, does the GA4 tracking tag actually fire? So it's a deployment level check.
Oh, I see. So it's testing the physical environment. Like, did the tag trigger or did it not?
Right, exactly. Now, GAFix takes a completely different route. It doesn't crawl your live site at all.
Wait, really? Not at all?
Nope. Instead, it connects directly to the back end of your GA4 property via a read-only API. It does this super fast, usually in under 2 minutes with zero code, and it analyzes your underlying configuration architecture.
So the back-end logic.
Yeah, it's looking at the rulebook your GA4 is using rather than the live website itself.
Okay, let me try an analogy here to see if I'm tracking this. GAFix is kind of like hiring a master structural architect to review the blueprints of a house you're building. Like, they're looking at the math to make sure the foundation can actually hold the weight of the roof.
Mm-hmm.
But GA4 Auditor is like sending a building inspector to walk through the physical rooms of the house after it's built, just to, flip the switches and see if the lights turn on.
That analogy works perfectly because it really explains why an event can fire but still be completely broken.
Okay, give me an example of that.
Sure. So let's say you run an e-commerce site and someone buys a pair of shoes. The building inspector, which is GA4 Auditor in this case, sees the purchase tag fire on the thank you page and says, great, the light turned on, it works.
Everything looks fine on the surface.
Right, but the architect, GAFix, looks at the back-end blueprint and realizes the parameter for currency is entirely missing in your configuration.
Oh, wow. So the tag fires, but because the system doesn't know if that purchase was, like, $50 US or 50 Japanese yen, GA4 just silently drops the revenue data.
Exactly. The dashboard just shows a blank space or a zero. The tag fired perfectly on the live site, but the architectural logic was totally broken.
That is wild.
And that's exactly why GAFix focuses on those 18 specific checkpoints. The guide really emphasizes that these aren't just random items pulled from some generic checklist. They're practitioner-validated points.
Meaning real experts built them.
Right. Analytics experts who know exactly where real-world setups fracture. GFix organizes these 18 checks across 9 structural pillars. So things like event and e-commerce tracking, privacy and compliance, attribution, and campaign tracking.
It sounds like it's prioritizing the actual depth of the logic over the sheer volume of browser pings.
Yes.
And the source material mentions that when GFix finishes looking at those blueprints, it translates its findings into a GA4 health score, right?
Yeah, it gives you a benchmark from 0 to 100. But honestly, the practical value for the user is the categorization. Every single checkpoint gets assigned one of 5 distinct statuses.
Ranging from what to what?
It ranges from critical all the way down to advisory.
Yeah.
Because if you're an analytics manager and you're already overwhelmed with data, you do not want a raw list of 100 things to stare at.
Yeah, you'd just be paralyzed.
Exactly. You want a prioritized action plan that says, hey, fix this critical e-commerce logic today, but that advisory note about your internal IP filtering, that can wait until next week.
Makes total sense. But let's say you decide you need the architect instead of the building inspector. You still have to give that architect the keys to your filing cabinet, so to speak.
You do.
And if I'm handing over access to my company's analytics backend, I really want to know exactly who is holding that data. Looking at the source material, the difference in how these two tools handle security. I mean, it isn't just a minor feature difference. It feels like a massive legal fork in the road.
Oh, absolutely. It is the single biggest operational barrier for enterprise companies. Let's look at GFix first. The guide explicitly highlights that GFix is ISO certified and SOC2 compliant.
Let's pause there for a second because we throw acronyms around a lot in tech. What does SOC2 compliance actually mean in a functional sense for the listener?
Good question. SOC2 isn't just a badge you can buy on the internet. It means an independent third-party auditor has physically come into the company, reviewed all of their internal systems, and legally verified that their security practices meet really strict industry standards for protecting customer data.
Okay, so it's a rigorous process.
Highly rigorous.
Yeah.
And in GFix's case, part of that security posture is how they actually connect to your system. Remember, they use a read-only API.
Right, so it's like giving them a window to look into your house, but the doors are dead-bolted so they can't physically touch or move the furniture.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. The API just asks GA4 for the settings. It basically asks, how is the purchase event configured? It does not read your raw user-level event data.
So it doesn't see that, like, John Doe from Chicago bought those shoes.
Exactly. Furthermore, GFix stores 0 data at any stage, and it makes 0 changes to your account. The risk footprint is effectively 0.
Wow. Now, contrast that with GA4 Auditor.
Oh.
Because the guide notes that GA4 Auditor stores its audit output files in Google Cloud Storage located in the US.
Which is a huge distinction.
Huge. Because if you're a company operating in Europe under GDPR or in California under the CCPA, where data privacy laws carry, multi-million-dollar fines storing audit files on a third-party server without those SOC2 or ISO certifications is a massive liability.
Oh, for sure. If you're an IT director or legal counsel at a SaaS company or an enterprise brand, uncertified third-party data storage is a hard stop.
They just won't let it through.
No,
Right.
You simply will not get the software approved through procurement. The certified security of GFix is just a non-negotiable requirement in those regulated environments.
I hear that, but I do want to push back a little on the idea that GA4 Auditor is somehow doing it wrong. Because our sources point out that while GA4 Auditor might lack those specific enterprise certifications, it absolutely dominates in a completely different sector.
Right, the agency world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The guide notes it's been adopted by massive global agency networks like Group M and Dentsu. Now, these are multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
They aren't careless. Why on earth are they choosing the tool without the SOC2 badge?
Because of a feature that GFX currently doesn't offer, full white label branding.
Ah,
Yeah, for a client-facing agency, you have to remember that the report itself is the product.
let's unpack that, because if an agency is charging a client, say, $5,000 a month to manage their analytics, and they just hand over a monthly audit report with a giant GA4 Auditor logo stamped on the front, the client is going to start asking questions.
Oh, absolutely. They'll immediately Google the tool, see it's a third-party software, and say, wait, why am I paying your agency a massive retainer if you're just clicking a button on someone else's app?
Right. It completely undercuts their authority.
It creates terrible friction in a client meeting. So GA4 Auditor solves this by letting agencies slap their own logos, their custom color schemes, and themes onto the reports before they're ever generated.
So it preserves the agency's perceived value. The client receives this polished, branded output that looks like the agency's internal team just spent a week custom building it from scratch.
It's a phenomenal operational advantage. When you're an agency managing dozens or even hundreds of client properties at scale, having a workflow that's optimized specifically for presentation is often way more valuable than having SOC2 compliance.
Especially if the client hasn't explicitly demanded it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we know how they pull the data, and we know how secure they are while doing it. But let's say you have the utmost security. You're fully SOC2 compliant, your APIs are locked down, the architect has reviewed the blueprints, and they found a massive flaw in your e-commerce logic.
The worst case scenario.
Right. What actually happens next? Because a highly secure PDF doesn't patch my checkout cart. What do these tools actually hand you to fix the problem?
Well, this is where the guide highlights the absolute sharpest point of differentiation, implementation, because finding the hole in the boat is completely useless if you don't have the tools to patch it.
Yeah. According to the guide, GA4 Auditor gives you polished PDFs, PowerPoints, and Google Slides, which obviously ties perfectly into that agency presentation workflow we just talked about.
It does. But that is where GA4 Auditor's involvement ends. They provide the report only.
Just the report.
Just the report. There is zero handoff support, zero implementation, and no follow-through. They essentially hand you the beautiful 40-page PDF and leave the room.
Wow.
Now, if your internal team has the technical expertise to read that PDF, decipher the deployment issues, log into your server, and rewrite the code, then you're fine.
But analytics configuration isn't just flipping a switch. I mean, it usually involves Google Tag Manager GTM, which is a notoriously complex beast. Most marketing teams don't just have a dedicated GTM developer sitting around waiting to implement a 40-page PDF.
Which is exactly why GAFix approaches the aftermath entirely differently. First, instead of uneditable PDFs, GAFix actually gives you clean, sortable Excel files on their paid plan.
So your developers can actually organize the tasks.
Exactly. But more importantly, GAFix offers service packages that bridge the gap from here's what is broken to we fixed it for you.
So they essentially act as the
execution arm, yes. They allow your team to hand off the audit findings to their own specialists who handle the implementation.
Oh, well, that's huge.
It really is. Whether it's fixing convoluted Google Tag Manager setups, rewriting broken JavaScript, or entirely reconfiguring your GA4 conversion logic, they handle the heavy lifting. And the guide even mentions that GAFix is rolling out a dedicated GTM audit feature soon.
Meaning they aren't just looking at GA4 anymore. They're actually moving upstream to audit the system that fires the tags in the first place.
Exactly. They're positioning themselves as an end-to-end resolution platform rather than just a diagnostic scanner. If you don't have an in-house analytics engineer, that service package is a massive safety net.
Okay, so we've covered the structural logic versus the live ping. We've weighed SOC2 enterprise security against white label agency polish. And we've looked at the gap between presenting a PDF and actually fixing the code. Now I feel like we have to talk about the economics.
Always comes down to the budget.
Always.
Yeah.
How do the pricing models of these two tools actually reflect those different philosophies and who ultimately wins?
Well, the pricing structures actually tell you exactly who their target audiences are.
Okay, I'll run through the numbers from our sources. So GAFix offers a free standard audit covering 7 checkpoints, and they explicitly note it requires no credit card. Yeah. Now, if you want the full 18 checkpoint single audit with the Excel export, it's $49. They also offer a 5 audit bundle for $198, which is roughly a 60% savings. Interestingly, the guide notes this bundle is available on the AWS Marketplace. Why does that matter?
Selling on the AWS Marketplace is a brilliant move for targeting enterprise and SaaS companies.
Really? Why?
If you've ever tried to buy B2B software for a large corporation, you know it is a nightmare of legal reviews, vendor onboarding, and procurement red tape that can literally take months.
Oh, the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But if your company already uses Amazon Web Services for its cloud hosting,
Then AWS is already an approved vendor in your accounting system. You can just add the GAFix audit to your existing AWS bill and completely bypass the entire procurement nightmare.
oh, that's incredibly smart.
It proves GAFix is laser-focused on internal IT and engineering teams.
That makes total sense. Now look at GA4 Auditor's pricing. They also charge $49 for a single audit. But then they offer a 3-audit pack for $99 and a 10-audit pack for $199, which brings the cost down to less than $20 per audit.
And that volume pricing is pure agency economics. Agencies absolutely need volume to maintain their profit margins. If they're auditing 50 clients a month, those 10 packs make the white label presentations incredibly cost efficient.
So to synthesize everything we've pulled from these sources today, the final verdict really comes down to your organizational DNA, wouldn't you say?
I would.
If you're an agency that lives and dies by client presentations and you need to churn out beautiful branded reports at a high volume to prove your worth, and you specifically want to know if tags are physically firing in the browser, GA4 Auditor is your clear winner. It's the ultimate deploy and present tool.
On the flip side, if you are an internal team, especially in e-commerce or SaaS, where data trust is just absolutely critical and your legal team requires strict SOC2 or ISO compliance, GAFix is your only viable option. It is the configure and fix tool. It gives you practitioner-validated blueprints, zero data storage, and the option to hire experts to actually patch the holes they find.
Which really brings us back to where we started. Data accuracy isn't some luxury reserved for Silicon Valley giants. It is the absolute bedrock of every decision you make. If you're going to spend $50,000 on an ad campaign, you need to know the speedometer works before you hit the gas.
Absolutely.
And for you listening, you now have the roadmap to choose the right mechanic for the job.
But there is a broader implication here that I think is really worth chewing on for a second. We've spent this entire time unpacking how incredibly fragile GA4 actually is. We've established that it fails silently and that it requires highly specialized third-party software just to verify if the numbers on your dashboard are rooted in reality.
Yeah, that's been the whole theme.
So, if the world's most popular analytics platform is this easy to misconfigure, it really makes you wonder. How much of the global digital marketing economy right now is fueled by multi-million-dollar decisions based on completely fabricated metrics without anyone in the boardroom even realizing it?
Wow, that is a truly chilling thought. Entire corporate strategies being driven by broken architectural logic, while everyone confidently points to a chart that's just making up numbers.
Exactly.
Well, don't be the company making decisions on a broken speedometer. Keep questioning your data, check your blueprints, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.